He is Brian Logan. My name is Jason Shepard, and joining us now is Anthony Treash from Pro Football Focus. Anthony, thank you so much for taking a few minutes. We appreciate it this morning.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me on.
So for those that are into the numbers, this is the segment for you, and we're going to talk BYU football. We're going to talk current and former BYU players, but focusing on the numbers and their grades. So right now, before we do anything else, right now, who is BYU's top graded player?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the grades, it's really not all that really encouraging. But I think my biggest takeaway with this team is that don't be alarmed that you don't have an elite grader really anywhere on either side of the ball, because this team is just full of solid guys, and you're really kind of seeing that. I think one of the better players, looking at the grades, Peyton Wilgar, the off-ball linebacker, their highest graded player in coverage, has been great around the ball a lot. Also been a productive pass rusher when given the opportunities there. So I think he's probably been the most notable performer as far as the PFF grading goes. But I would say to BYU fans, if you don't see any guys that are above 90.0 like you did last year a lot with a ton of different people, don't be alarmed, because there's no really clear-cut, I would say liabilities on either side of the ball. So that's a good thing to have.
So is BYU then bucking the trend normally? If you're going to see a team like BYU right now that has won all three games and all against P5 teams, would you normally see higher graded players? Is BYU an exception to this, or is there no real correlation to that one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have the numbers in front of me, but, just doing this for years now, I do think that they are a little bit of an outlier. Typically, you do see some of these higher, top performers. Sometimes you can kind of involve luck with that a little bit, but also too, like I was mentioning just a minute ago, you also have a pretty unique instance here in scenario where there's really not a clear weakness anywhere, and you just have a bunch of solid performers, and that's a good thing to have. But typically, yeah, you do see a lot of elite graded players on a team, that's having this kind of success that BYU is having. But, that's not to say that we're expecting, significant regression. Maybe they fall off a cliff. I don't think we're going to see that, so to say.
Anthony, I would always get mad and frustrated and a little bitter when it came to, just certain like media groups and just analytics always having me like at a 2-star, or a 1.5, mostly probably because I'm 5'6", in high school and even in junior college, right? So I know I'm gonna get those rankings. But when it comes down to your metrics, how does it work? How does the system work? How do you, grade these guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty long and nuanced way to describe it. But I'm going to try and break it all down as quickly and short and sweet as possibly. So it's pretty unique by position. At the quarterback position to even defensive backs, offensive line play, it's very different there. But essentially, we have a grading scale going from -2 to +2, and we grade every player on every play of every game. And it ranges across that scale. And typically, you'll see more zeros. Just complete wash of plays. You did your job. You didn't do anything, outstanding, above expectation or anything below. And then we assign the grade and we zero them out from 0 to 100. And one thing too, I would like to point out, like when you look at the PFF grades on a week-to-week basis, it's not really an average. And a big question we get to, especially in college football, is that we never weigh, based off of competition level. So right now you're seeing a lot of, outrageous grades from some teams that have played, a couple of, lower tier FBS programs in an FCS school. And that's going to kind of skew some things a bit. So it's always important to, really think about the competition level. And so the biggest thing there is, we do look at every single position here. We have our best. We have a bunch of review processes there, even with former and past NFL collegiate coaches and players, verifying the roles of each player, breaking down the system all the way from, this cover scheme used, the blocking scheme used on the offensive line, and so on. And so, yeah, I mean, I could go on for hours on how we ended up grading all these guys, but that's kind of the short and sweet answer.
Honestly, when you watch a football game, because of what you do, I just kind of envision this, you watching it like The Matrix or something.
Can you enjoy it?
Well, I mean, do you see all of this as in how this is grading, or can you remove yourself from that and not think that way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. It is kind of different because you catch on to trends as the season goes on, and you start to recognize those trends pretty quickly as you're watching the games live on the broadcast footage. And a lot of times too, especially on Saturdays, it's a nice little setup we have here in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the PFF headquarters. You can watch 10 different games all at one time, and so you just kind of write some stuff down, take note. Stuff you're seeing, maybe it's a little bit different than normal. Maybe this team, typically they don't use this personnel grouping, and now they're starting to use it a lot for this one game only. You start to dig things into it a little bit. And then you go back, and this is what, especially the teams really love here. So we here at PFF, we're contracted out to all 32 NFL teams and over 100 of the 130 FBS programs. And we have a big database. We do have our premium stats, which is available to the public via subscription, but we also have a much, much larger database that these teams use, on a daily basis. And the biggest thing too, back in the day, they would always talk about cutting the tape, and you'd have some, a few different people, working 20-hour days, literally cutting the tape for the coaches. But now you can go into this database, filter to whatever you want, whether it is a coverage scheme or you want to see a quarterback under pressure, and you can get that film, the coach's film, immediately. And so after the games, after take note of some things, then I go back and I go through and burn through that database, filter out to what I was noticing, kind of pairing the film with the data. And, that's the beautiful thing about it.
Anthony, that reminds me, and even, Jason kind of breaking down the vision and the matrix. I kind of feel the same way when it comes to the Lego movie and being a master builder. That's how I see things. So everything. Speaking of a master builder, Zach Wilson is somebody who has, built a good career here at BYU. Obviously, us as BYU fans, we are in love with him. He can't do any wrong, but we know he's struggled so far this season. How have you graded him through the first two games?
Yeah, it has not been great at all. But again, I would not put, a lot into it because it's only been a couple of games and he's a rookie. I mean, typically you see these rookie quarterbacks struggle, and it's no different in college football. And you see some true freshmen or redshirt freshmen go out there and start. I mean, you're going to expect some poor play. And with Zach Wilson, it's not much of a surprise to see and kind of hear some of the comments his head coach Robert Saleh has. He's like, like he said publicly, it's okay to play boring football sometimes. You don't have to make some of these heroic plays or try to do something amazing. Sometimes it's better just to take the safe and conservative option, and be a little bit boring. I mean, that's good. It's going to, help your decision-making process there. And, he's kind of is playing at with the New York Jets right now, kind of like he was at BYU, and you can get away with it, when he was at BYU last year, especially against some of the competition he was facing in the offense he was in. I mean, he had the ability to do some amazing things, outside the pocket, some heroic superhero type of stuff that, he's trying to kind of had his welcome to the NFL moment this past week with that, a lot of those interceptions there. So I think he's learning in the process, and it will take some time. But I wouldn't be alarmed just because this guy's natural talent it's in a rare tier. And so I do think eventually he'll turn it around. It's just all about learning that, some of the stuff that I could do at BYU on a weekly basis, I can't do in the NFL because this is a whole different animal.
Anthony Treash joining us here from Pro Football Focus on BYU Sports Nation. I want to stay with the NFL quarterbacks. Anthony, even on face value, when these guys were drafted just months ago, you knew that it could be a pretty special quarterback class. And I understand that there are ups and downs, and we're only 2 weeks in, but you can certainly see the potential in a lot of these rookie quarterbacks. Of the rookie quarterbacks from this year's draft class, who right now is grading out the highest?
Yeah, it's definitely Mac Jones. And so when we're kind of looking at all these quarterbacks and, trying to get it as close to, out of 32 as possible, Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, they are, I think they're actually last and second to last. But you look at Mac Jones, he's middle of the pack. He's right there on 16th. He's definitely been the most, I would say, impressive with how he's handled the NFL right away. And I'm not surprised to hear that at all whatsoever. But, it's still like his ceiling is so limited, but he has a high floor. And we were all kind of expecting that. And that's why the whole debate there, during the pre-draft process when, we kind of finding out now that the Niners did trade up to number 3 just because they were a little bit nervous that they were going to miss out on someone like Mac Jones. And they ended up going the Trey Lance route. But it's all about which one would you rather have? Would you rather take the risk on someone like Trey Lance, who has a high ceiling but a very, very low floor, high risk, high reward? Or are you going to go with someone that's a little bit more safe with Mac Jones and hope that he can kind of build up to be this, fantastic passer on a consistent weekly basis at that elite level, like he was at Alabama. And for me, was much more in the Mac Jones over Trey Lance camp because of, what he did at Alabama. Very clean performer, accurate with the ball, quick decision maker. He's not going to make mistakes. And so far with New England Patriots, it's kind of been that. Hasn't been so much through 2 weeks that it was in the preseason where he was, grading out at an elite level. But, where he's at right now in the 70s, middle of the pack in the NFL, that is really impressive for a rookie. And so I think right now, if you had to say who's going to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's going to be Mac Jones. And I think, I believe it was Drew Brees. He said it best, and I do agree with this take. I think for right now, this year, and even probably the next couple of years, I think Mac Jones is probably going to be looked at. And as far as even too with the data, we'll say that he's the best, quarterback from this class. But I think, 5 years down the road, I think that's when we're going to start to see the movement. Some of these guys that weren't exactly polished kind of start to, pan out a little bit more. So I'm excited to see what happens. But I do think at the end of the day, we're going to look back at this quarterback class and say, yeah, it definitely was a historic one, or the best the NFL's ever seen.
Anthony, I know this is not the reason that we brought you on the show, but you and I were having a conversation, in the break. And you've mentioned a couple of times that you're based out of Cincinnati, and obviously, the news over the last couple of weeks with the Big 12 announcement, Cincinnati, one of the 4 teams that, along with BYU, is going to go in. And I was kind of asking you what the vibe around Cincinnati is like. And it's kind of crazy because we've heard a lot from Central Florida. We've heard a lot from Houston. Obviously, we're here in Provo. I haven't really heard a ton coming out of Cincinnati. What's the vibe in the area in terms of Bearcat fans with the news that they're going to be part of the Big 12 in a couple years?
Oh, man, yeah. I mean, the people around here, they're definitely jacked about it. There's no doubt about it. They're excited to kind of get the ball rolling. But I think why it's a little bit lesser than some of the other programs is that they're very focused. Everybody from the team, the coaches, the program as a whole, to even the fans, very focused on this year because, if some things kind of fall their way, they go to South Bend and beat Notre Dame, they could be making an interesting case to really crack a spot in the 14 playoff. And they're definitely have their eyes set on that. It's going to take a lot. Like I said, going to have to beat Notre Dame on the road, going to have to win out. Very possible there, but they're also going to have to get some, help from other teams losing and struggling as well. So they're definitely focused on this season, trying to get to the college football playoff. And, they have a very talented team there, so they're excited with that group. But, I do think, and I know this for a fact, they're super stoked to kind of join the Big 12 and kind of get that, group of 5 moniker away from the school because, they have been outperforming everybody else at that level of football. And I think this is a good thing too, right? Because, even doing some different studies too, like pass rush versus coverage, how much does each facet really matter, to the output of a play? At the NFL level, we found, coverage and pass rush very much different. It's always coverage can explain more in a given play than pass rush can. But, at the collegiate level, it's different. And you can kind of see that when you split up Power 5 and Group of 5. Group of 5 is more like the NFL. Power 5 is a little bit different. Why? Well, why is that? You have, some of these really freakish type of athletes, these NFL prospects on a lot of these teams. And that's really kind of taking that next step forward. They can make an impact on the trenches with some of these younger offensive linemen, that really aren't polished up yet. Anthony? And so I think Cincinnati kind of belongs in that tier. And I think BYU does as well. And I think kind of separating out those 2 brands of football is very important for the sport.
Yeah, everybody is super excited. Anthony, we appreciate your time. Pro Football Focus is, information is second to none. We love it here on BYU Sports Nation. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes, and I'm sure we will talk to you down the road.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me.